I was born in Damascus.
Damascus,
Beautiful
Syria.
Damascus,
Wow.
Syria. Yes, yes.
Before the war, I'm assuming.
Of course, yeah. I was born in 1990, August 1st.
Okay.
I'm a Leo. I don't know if that surprises people.
Okay.
If you're into astrology, you know. But I was born in Damascus, and I spent the first few years of my life living there. But I was never a stranger to it. Even after that, we would go every year as a family to Lebanon and Damascus.
Yeah.
And then in 2009, we actually stopped going after that, but we continued to go to Lebanon. In fact, my last trip to Lebanon was just 3 months ago.
Yeah, you've been speaking about it a lot on Instagram.
So both are very close to my heart. The Levant, the Arab world, the Mediterranean side, especially of the Arabic-speaking world, is very close to my heart because it taught me many things. Among them, it taught me to be brave. It taught me to be strong in the face of unconquerable adversity. And that, and this is why in Islam we have this idea of steadfastness. I know you always hear people saying, be steadfast.
Right.
You only really realize what that means when you're encountered with a situation that you have no escape from. And a situation in which if you buckle, you have a potential to weaken yourself, weaken your inner core, weaken your moral core. You must never weaken your moral core. Even if it feels like the world is going to destroy you for being who you are, you must never weaken your moral core. And this is something that Arabness taught me. This is something my faith has taught me. This is something my family has taught me.
Oh, wow. So you moved when you were 9. Where did you move?
No, we were in Syria till I was 3.
Okay.
And we moved back to Pakistan.
You moved to Pakistan.
My father had won a provincial assembly seat in 93, 94, under Shahid Bhutto, Pakistan People's Party's Shahid Bhutto. And we filed his nomination papers. We came to Pakistan because he was officially an exile. Even under his sister's rule, he was still in exile, not allowed to come back. But he won, and he won a seat in Larkana. And he came back, and he was arrested from the airport, and taken to jail. So a lot of my memories with him are actually in jail.
You used to go visit him?
We used to go visit him. I find it shocking when I meet people who have never been inside a jail. Because
I have.
You have?
I have.
Yeah, you haven't.
My crew, by the way, once was in jail in the shower and I had to go get them out.
Oh my goodness. I feel like it shocks me to hear when people have never seen the inside of a prison, because I spent so much of my childhood going and visiting my father, and then I also spent some of my adult life also visiting the needy in jail, people who, on Eid, for example, we would go to the women's jail in Larkana, me and my family. So, these spaces are not unfamiliar to me. But my father was in jail for, I think, just under a year. He was then released, and he had a brief but very impactful political career as chairperson of the Pakistan People's Party Shahid Bhutto group. He was very active in the fight against what was going on in those days, which was target killings, a lot of target killings, a lot of violence in Karachi, tremendous violence in Sindh at that time.
I still remember 1996, when my son was born, there were 10 murders a day.
Yeah.
10 murders a day. That's like 3,650. That's ridiculous. It was about, crazy.
Almost 4,000 people died. And he was someone who never folded. Again, he was a steadfast person. He never compromised. He never made a deal. He never fell short of his own standards, politically speaking, at least. And for that, he was punished. And he was murdered by, we still don't know. Yeah. The trials have been inconclusive, and I'm not at liberty to sort of make claims, but we can say by and large the state, the police, murdered by the police outside of our home in 1996.
You were there?
I was there, yeah.
Oh my
I
God.
was there, yeah.
I'm so sorry. And I mean, I don't want to go there, but I can't even imagine what a 6-year-old would feel like. Well, what happened? Were you scared?
You know, I remember that night very vividly.
Okay.
I don't remember the day before,
Okay.
but I remember that night and I remember the following days. But I remember my sister and I were sitting watching television, and the room was very close to the gate, which is where him and 6 of his companions were martyred. And in those days, you never knew in Karachi if they were sounds of bullets or if they were sounds of fireworks. And my sister took me to the dressing room. It was my mother's room, my parents' room. She took me to the dressing room where there were no windows. Because in those days it was school protocol. Now you would just get down on the floor, you find a place, no windows. No, in those days that's what everybody was learning. So we went down on the floor and I said, "Don't worry, Fatih, it's just fireworks." I was very little and very naive. And I remember my sister going to the hospital. I was left at home. They didn't want me to see any of that, of course. But I remember the first time I ever grieved for my father was actually when I was 10 years old.
Did your family leave right away, or did you stay?
We never left.
Okay.
And the reason why I mentioned that, even though he died when I was 6 and I grieved when I was 10, is because when a child that young experiences something that traumatic, the way it was broken to me was, I was told, Papa's in heaven. Heaven is a place where people go after they die. I didn't understand what death was. I didn't understand what heaven was. I didn't understand what missing someone would look like when I was 6. And when I was 10, my mother, of course, told me not only... She described the events of his death, what it was like sitting with him in his last breaths.
So he was still alive?
Yeah.
She got to him when he was still alive?
He walked...
It's inside the house. I thought it was outside.
It was outside the gate,
Okay.
of the house. And it was only then that I cried for the first time for my father, and I've cried every time since.
Did you ever get therapy for it? Because it's very traumatic. There's a lot of trauma
Of
there.
course. I mean, we're no strangers to therapy in our family, and we're not shy of these things. I mean, of course, we had some counsel, but I mean, it's the therapy of it all is there's obviously ways that you can deal with these things, but ultimately it teaches you. It teaches you in a very rough way the world you're living in,
Yeah.
the society you're living in. But we never left. We stayed. My mother stayed. She made sure we stayed. Because ultimately when you leave after something like that, you give up on a place.
Yeah.
And we never wanted to give up on our home. My mother knew that if we left, it would be taken as an opportunity by the people who wanted to scare us away. So we stayed, we held on, we're still here.
Mm-hmm. Your father's picture is still outside the house.
Of course, it will
I
remain
see it
there.
every time I drive.
It will remain
home.
there for as long as we are here. It will be there. Yes.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to take you back to that. I think one of the things that I noticed about everything that I was reading about you is that you felt the injustice and you speak up for injustice, and you speak in many ways, which is from going from your art to your filmmaking and everything. So when did you decide to leave? Or you went to college after that? I mean, I'm like now fast forwarding. So
So I
10
went.
years old.
So basically,
Yeah.
I was 6 at the time, and
Yeah.
then I, like a normal kid, spent my rest of my schooling in Karachi.
Really, where did you go to school?
First the American school,
Okay.
Karachi American School. Then I went to Bayview Academy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I was in Bayview Academy till O levels. I did boarding school abroad
Okay.
for A levels, and then I went to
How was
university.
boarding school? I mean, London, right? England.
Yeah, in England.
It
Yeah,
had to be England.
It was new. It was new because it's not like as a family, no one really had got the only people who had gone to boarding school, yes, were my dad and my uncle, but they went to local boarding schools. They went to,
HSN.
briefly they were in HSN and brief just because of my grandfather, because he was a civil servant for a long
Right.
time, they moved. So they were in Rawalpindi at Lawrence.
Lawrence,
and
yeah.
then they were also
Ghoda Gali mein bhi.
yes, and then they were in HSN, and then my uncle even went to Petaro, I think.
Acha.
And so, they were, and so obviously, and I'd never heard from them what the experience was like. And even if I had, I mean, it was so different going to a British boarding school. The experience was interesting. I made friends. Now looking back, we're worlds apart, actually, in our outlook. Yeah.
What about friends here? From school? From American school?
Oh, of course.
You
That
have
goes without
Bayview
saying.
and all.
I have American school friends. I have Bayview friends.
Those are
I'm
chuddy
still-
buddies, no?
Those are chuddy buddies. I still have. I mean, I have a very very small network of close friends
Right.
who I went to school with. A lot of them I didn't even go to school with. We connected because of tuitions. Tuitions was always the place to
agree.
connect. Which honestly, I find tuitions such a scam.